Seahawks fans, wherever you may be. Thanks for listening to the show. Join your hosts, Bill Alvstad and Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football.
Hey, Hawk fans. Welcome back to another episode of Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm co-host Keith Myers. Bill is with me. He is on a vacation again, but he's being very gracious to join us and be a part of the show again today. We are previewing Cincinnati Bengals game against Seattle. Seattle's on the road. That's what we're doing today. So how you doing, Bill?
Hey, hi. Yeah, I'm on the road. I'm using my phone because I can't get any connectivity with my laptop. So it is what it is. But here, ready to go. And previewing the Bengals game. Seahawks have got a bye. Now we're coming back. Hopefully, get a few guys that have been banged up a little bit more healthy and ready to go for this game. I'm kind of excited about this game. Really, Cincinnati looked good last week, but they were playing against the Arizona Cardinals, so you're going to have to weigh that out a little bit. Joe Burrow improved. Jamar Chase had like a career day, 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards, 9 receptions, that sort of thing, or 12 receptions, whatever it was. And but I think we're a better team. I think we're a better team right now than we've been in the last few years. And trending upwards. And so I'm really kind of excited to see where we're at against a legitimate AFC playoff team. And coming in, we both kind of had this game as a toss-up. And, since then, they're 2-2. We're coming in 3-1. And really like to kind of just make this a statement game and have the Seahawks come out and just kind of dominate them at a 10 a.m. game. On not necessarily all the way to the East Coast, but East Coast time, and just see if we can kind of exert our will on a team that's pretty good on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a better Bengals team than their record and stats show. Joe Burrow had that calf strain and really struggled for a couple weeks when he couldn't move. He looked like it hurt to do anything. And with that, like, his accuracy was off, the ball velocity was down because he just couldn't use his feet. He looked better against Arizona. Like, he looked like he was healthier. Now he's got another week. I'm thinking that this offense is better than they would appear statistically.
No, I agree. Joe Mixon had his best game last week. He's always a back that can get, if he gets going, he can do some damage. He's just about ready to take over as their third leading rusher back of all time and for the franchise, and they've had some pretty decent ones go through there. You're right. Joe Burrow kind of has had a chance now. He had a calf injury in preseason. He's kind of been gimping along a little bit there. He said he's as healthy as he's been all year. Not great news for the Seahawks. Good news for them. I don't know how that translates, though. Seattle's coming off a game where they sacked the quarterback 11 times and had dozens of pressures. I know that they want to keep that going. If you take a look at the Cincinnati offensive line, they're allowing quite a few pressures. I think they're 5th in the league in pressures allowed. And I think that, we've got an advantage there, but we need to kind of pick and choose when we're going to get after them, when we send more than 4. I think they want to kind of stay in that base defense if they can, so they can first shut down the run with Joe Mixon and company. And they're going to spend the resources to do whatever they need to do to get that done first. Make Cincinnati one-dimensional, even though you're putting the ball in Joe Burrow's hands. If you can do that, gives us an advantage, both in pass rush as well as on the back end. And, this is a team, too, that likes to pass a lot on first down. They lead the league in first down attempts, passing attempts, like 67% of the time. And then, of course, Jamar Chase. I mean, the guy is a legit top 5 receiver in this league. And it'll be very interesting to me who kind of covers him. Is it going to be Reek Woolen on the outside? Are they going to use Witherspoon in that respect, or a combination of guys? I would imagine it's probably going to end up being a combination of guys. It seems like Seattle wants to interchange their backs and safeties a lot, depending on matchups and so forth. So I'm kind of excited about this game.
Yeah.
How do you feel going in?
Well, before I jump into that, I want to just because you're talking about who's going to cover, and I saw a thing today that said that somebody asked DK Metcalf about that. Like they asked him about Jamar Chase, and he had nothing but positive things to say. I mean, who wouldn't? Like Chase is freaking like amazing, but he said, you know, that if he thinks the Seahawks are going to put Spoon on him, and that Spoon's up to the test, and should be able to do what he wants to do. Which, you know, I mean, that's one of those things that like are, you know, kicking the beehive a little bit. They're trying to say that your rookie's going to shut down a guy who is an all-pro. But when Jamar Chase was asked about it, he just shook it off and said, man, the dude's just trying to praise his teammate. Like, don't try and say it's something bigger than that. So, which I thought, you know, I mean, that is exactly what it was, but it's still nice to see guys like kind of get it. Like you say stuff because you're trying to like build up your teammate. You're not trying to tear down the other guy. So, but yeah, no. So you're asking me how I feel about this game. I feel okay about it. I don't think I feel as strongly about it as you do. Seahawks defense has looked bad at times this year. They've looked good at times this year. I like their ability to stop the run. They have a hard time getting off the field on third down, and this is a good offense when Joe Burrow is healthy, and if he's getting healthier, like that makes it hard. And so I could see the Bengals having some success moving the ball against Seattle. The question is, can Seattle keep him out of the end zone? Can they bend but not break, that kind of deal, hold them to field goals, get them, sure, they got yards, but they're not getting a lot of points out of it. And then can our offense sustain some drives? Because if Seattle's offense can convert on third down themselves, it's going to be a matter of who's going to outscore who. And I like Seattle's offense over Cincinnati's in terms of being able to convert things into touchdowns, in part because I like Seattle's defense to be able to hold Cincinnati out of the end zone, even if they give up a lot of yards. And I don't really trust Cincinnati's defense enough to say that they're going to be able to keep Seattle out of the end zone. So I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a really freaking entertaining game. But
I do too. Yeah,
but
we haven't played Cincinnati very much, Keith. I mean, over the years, I think we played them 2 times in the 2000s so far, which, you know, you don't do that very often in the NFL. You kind of mix it up a little bit. So, and historically, you really can't do anything with that. We can't go back and look at how we've done against this team. I do look at the matchups. You know, you take a look at Joe Burrow. I think the offensive line for them is a weakness still.
It is.
They've done some things to kind of want to improve that. But if you get some pressure on Joe Burrow, this year with at least 27.3 pressure rate against them, Joe Burrow has 61 attempts for 247 yards and a total of 6 points. When they allow less than 15% pressure rate, they have 798 yards passing on 136 attempts, and they've scored 77 points combined. So I think, you know, one of the keys for Seattle is going to be dialing up the pressure. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, can they do that with 4 guys, stay in their base defense, also stop the run, but also get some nice pressures with him and allow the defense backs to make some plays? Or are they going to have to dial something up? The reason that they dialed things up with New York, the last game that they played, and were very successful, is because they were very successful. They got away with it. They were able to add some nice pressure off the edge with Witherspoon, for example. I think that if you take a look at Adams and his limited play in 9 snaps, he was rushing the passer a couple of times, probably would have continued to do so if he'd stayed in. Can we afford to do that against Cincinnati? Time will tell. I think you're going to have to go base early, take your shots on defense with pressure and see how they respond. And so far this year, it's been worth it for teams to kind of dial up some pressure, and we'll see if that continues. On the other side of the ball, Keith, you mentioned their defense and our ability to be able to move the ball. I agree. I think their weakness, if you will, is defending the run. They're almost dead last in defending the run. They've got some good players, though, when it comes to passing the ball against them. Trey Hendrickson is their guy on defense. He's got 6 sacks this year, and if you take a look at him over the last several years, he's just really had a lot of success for them, and he's the guy that Seattle's going to be keying in on. They've also got a couple other guys as well. And their defense overall, they kind of play a 4-2-5 scheme with a lot of cover 3. So that's going to give Seattle some opportunities to maybe take a look at getting Njigba more involved and taking what the defense is going to give you underneath, and then take your shots, after you've got your safeties playing up a little bit. And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, you're right that Trey Hendrickson's going to be a guy that you got to account for. You just need to account for him on every play. He's already got 6 sacks, and that's going to be a problem. But it looks like Seattle's going to get Charles Cross back, and that's going to be huge towards the Seahawks being able to slow him down, because now you've only got one side where you've got a backup in there, and you can give him some help. You can put Will Disley on that side and double team Hendrickson and feel okay about that, and give Geno enough time to get the ball out of his hands. So when you're one dimensional in terms of your pass rush coming from a guy, you can shut that down, and I think that's something that Seattle's going to be able to do in this. What I'm not like really excited about in terms of their defense is like their defensive backs. Like, who in there are you feeling confident about covering a DK Metcalf? Right.
Yeah, that's a great question, really. I'm not sure that anybody can really cover him. They run a lot of zone. You're going to have Mike Hilton covering in the slot. Hilton is a good corner, but he's probably not going to be matched up on Metcalf very much. Dax Hill and Scott, their safeties will do some bump and run type stuff as well. But on the outside, really nobody's going to cover DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Njigba and company. And nobody really can cover Fant. Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt are there. They're playing 90+% of the snaps at the linebacker spot. And then you've got Hendrickson and a couple other guys on the front line that do a good job. But I think as long as Seattle can convert on third down, which is going to be a key in this game. It's something they've been working on. It's something they want to do. They haven't had as much success as they want. But and the other key on offense to keep the ball going is going to be Ken Walker. And I think Charbonnet as well, just for some physicality. But Ken Walker has an opportunity here, I think, to really have an effect on this game. If you take a look at Cincinnati and their defense, Cincinnati has allowed the most big running plays on offense in the league this year, with over 20 plays allowed, over 20 yards, I believe, or 15 yards, something like that. So when you talk about big playability, there's no better player in the league, one of the top 5 in Walker, to be able to hit a home run from anywhere in the field. And I expect to see a little bit of that from him in this game. And converting on third downs, Charbonnet, and they're on short down situations. Yeah, I mentioned Njigba before as a guy that can convert, as well as the tight ends, Disley and Fant, and then Parkinson in the red zone. I see them. I agree with you, Keith. I see them being able to score points, move the ball. Other teams have been able to successfully move the ball on them. You want to try to keep the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands, obviously. And so you kind of want to sustain some drives and give your team some extra possessions. So if they can get a turnover or two, that could be the key in this game.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the key in any game, right? If you can steal some drives and get some extra possessions for you, take some away from them, you're typically going to win stuff. with this particular, Bengals group, like I see them as having a couple of major weaknesses. One, their offensive line's not very good. That's been true during the entire time that Joe Burrow's been there. They've tried to improve it. It hasn't really gotten any better. And I mean, they made it to a Super Bowl and an AFC title game with a bad offensive line, so he can beat you anyway. And so, but still, I mean, it's not a strength. And I think if Seattle can get after him, especially if he's hobbled at all with that calf still, it could be good things. And then I don't like their secondary. I don't think that they play a lot of zone in part because they have to. If they man up against Seattle, Lockett and Metcalf are going to just eat them. And that is something that Seattle can take advantage of. Like you said, like, okay, so maybe Lockett and Metcalf don't have huge games because of the zone that they're playing, but that's going to end up giving up so many easy completions to Njigba and Fant and Disley underneath because they're dropping so many people back into that deep zone. At some point, right, you've got to be able to line up and match up against people. And I don't like their secondary to do that.
Yeah,
Seattle's just too talented at receiver.
One of the things to watch for as well is their blitzing. Last year they blitzed on about 23% of their opportunities. This year they're blitzing at 33.9% of their defensive snaps so far. Mm-hmm. If you take a look at the way that Geno Smith is operating under pressure and getting the ball out, he's been very successful. And the Seahawks are kind of built for that. Their offense has the ability to kind of spread the ball around, get the ball out quick when needed, and so forth. So I see them also being able to take advantage of some of that. So if they're going to turn up the pressure on Geno, our offensive line has been doing really well. You mentioned Charles Cross being able to come back in this game. I think that gives Seattle some flexibility over on the right side as well as who's going to line up over there. We'll see what happens. And I expect Seattle to be able to continue to have success protecting Geno Smith. On the year, Geno's only been sacked 7 times. Pressure rates way down compared to years past. Mm-hmm. And while Cincinnati is an effective team at getting to the quarterback, they're not, perfect by any means. I think they've got 14 or 15 sacks on the year, but that's been spread out over 5 games. And I think they're ranked, 7th or 8th in the league in pass rush win rate, as well as sacking the quarterback. It's definitely a factor. But Seattle's been doing such a good job on protection that I think they're kind of used to this by now. And mm-hmm. I really do think that Geno's going to have an opportunity here to go out and be a real difference maker in this game.
So let's go ahead and talk injuries real quick, because the Seahawks have been really banged up the first part of the season. But they have the bye. They should be getting some guys back. Charles Cross is back to practicing. He should be playing. Phil Haynes was a limited practice on Wednesday. He's expected to play. Jamal Adams is through his concussion protocol and should be a full practice today, and he's going to play presumably unless his symptoms come back unexpectedly. And they're starting to. This is a team that's starting to get healthy. Damian Lewis apparently he wants to play, but the team is saying maybe not this week. Give him another one, but there's a chance he could play as well. But getting Haynes back, that helps the depth, because now you've got Bradford as and Haynes. You got only got one backup guard in there playing, and you're getting Charles Cross back on the outside. Abe Lucas is still a couple of weeks away, but he may be coming back here relatively soon. This line, if or just the whole team, if they continue to get healthy, we're going to start seeing the team that we expected to see, and not the team that we saw like week 1. I think that you've got a team that's going to really show that they're better than people think over the next few weeks.
Your opinion, how do you address the Damian Lewis situation when you have Phil Haynes coming back on one side? You still got Oluwatimi available. Evan Brown's earned his starting role as center. In fact, he's been one of the best pressure rate centers in the league so far.
Yes.
This year, 137 snaps, 4 pressures allowed, 0 quarterback hits, 0 sacks. That's Evan Brown. So the team has felt really comfortable sliding him over for Damian Lewis and having Oluwatimi come in. Is that what they do to start this game?
I don't know. If it was, if I'm looking at this and you have Phil Haynes back, I would look at Bradford as a starting guard and letting him and Haynes start, let Brown be in there, and know that if you, for any reason, you have one of those 3 guys have to come out of the game at all, that's when Oluwatimi comes in and Evan Brown slides to guard or that kind of thing. So I would probably do it that way, just because if you're gonna run Bradford out there, I want to run him out there from snap one like he has the last couple weeks.
Would you line him up on the right or line him up on the left and move Haynes over?
I'd probably line him up on the right because that's where he is comfortable right now, whereas Haynes has played right and left. He's a vet. He's more versatile as that stuff goes, where let's just keep things simple for the rookie.
I disagree with you just a little bit, and the only reason is like Trey Hendrickson and if they do some stunts, which they like to do, they're kind of a blitz happy team. It'll remind you a lot of, well, not you, but there are fans, a lot of New York, the Giants, the team we just played. Wink Martindale over there has always loved to blitz and run exotic packages and so forth. Didn't do as much against Seattle as I thought they might, given the fact that their team needed something, some energy, some sort of turnover to help them. So I was expecting a little bit more, but with Cincinnati, they're very successful at doing that. And if you have got an inexperienced guy, even Phil Haynes playing out of position slightly over on the left side, that scares me a little bit. I like Evan Brown. I like the way that he's been playing, and he's kind of seamless over on the left side as well. And of course, we already know Oluwatimi is able to come in and hold down the fort in the center. So I might even leave Phil Haynes out of this equation, at least to start the game.
I don't know. I for the same reasons with Hendrickson, do you want rookie center, rookie right guard when he stunts across into the middle?
They've been successful so far.
Oh man, that's hard. That's hard for me. I think the vet presence in there with Haynes
this year, though, hardly
is worth something. But the thing is, like, are we talking about a huge difference one way or the other? I don't think we are. I like what they've got from Bradford, which was kind of a surprise given that he didn't look that great in the preseason, but he's come on and done some really good things here in the last couple of games. I want to keep him playing. I want to give him as many reps as we can. And so if on the left side, if that's Haynes or if that's Evan Brown, whatever, take your pick. It really comes down to, do you want Haynes in there or do you want Oluwatimi in there? Because Evan Brown's going to play either way, whether it's a center or guard. I don't think it's that big of a difference. I think you get some veteran experience with Haynes. I think you get some better run blocking with Haynes, but you get better pass blocking with moving Brown over. So, it's literally one of those take your pick kind of situations.
So what are you thinking about the Seahawks so far this year? DVOA. Seahawks rank 8th overall in the NFL. Mm-hmm. They've got great balance. They're 8th overall on offense, number 14 on defense, number 10 on special teams. When we talked earlier this year in the offseason, in the preseason, in training camp, we talked about Seattle improving enough on defense to be a top 10, top 15 defense. We already knew they were going to be a top 10 offense, potentially top 5, and then top 10 on special teams now at number 10 overall. And they look good. They look like a complete team. Even though they haven't completely hit on all cylinders, there's still been some deficiencies on defense here and there. Last game they put it all together, but it was a very poor team. Mm-hmm. on offense. We just haven't seen them completely click. We haven't seen them convert on third downs at the rate that they want to, somewhere in the high, 48% range. So I know that they want to convert a little bit more. But everything else has been kind of pretty good, pretty solid team. What do you think?
Well, I think the fact that you're saying that this team has yet to click offensively, but they're 8th in the league in DVOA.
It's true, though, right?
Right? At what point do they click? Do they become 3rd, 2nd? I mean, we have really high expectations for this offense. And I think rightfully so, given the talent all over the field that they've got. But they're 8th in the league in DVOA. That's solid. The fact that they're 14th on defense, that's incredible. I think that has something to do with their last 2 opponents. Carolina and New York are both bad. They're not good football teams, especially offensively, and they're going to make teams look good. We'll see what happens this week. This is a test because the Bengals are the best team they've played, except for maybe Detroit.
A lot of people say that, have Detroit ranked ahead of the Seahawks, even though the Seahawks beat them head to head. You go look at all the power rankings and so forth. The Lions seem to be a little favored right now in the league, but
the Lions are a great story, and everyone's kind of like, are you really a dark horse if everyone's expecting you to win? But they're the story this year. They're the up and coming team that has been a doormat forever, and now they're putting it together and playing good football. Yeah, Seattle beat them, and beat them in overtime, but had a big lead in the 4th quarter, gave it up, got it back in overtime, and got the win. I thought Seattle looked like the better team there, but the Lions are a good football team. They're also the only good football team Seattle has played. The Rams aren't as bad.
Slightly better than we thought, but not a lot. I mean, they're still not a great team.
Yeah, the Rams aren't a good team, but they are better than we thought they were going to be. And Carolina and New York are bad. So this is going to be a good test of where Seattle's at. Detroit was, and they passed that test, I thought. This is a different kind of good in terms of the offense, because this is one that can attack you in different ways. They're just really deep at receiver. They're very similar in terms of talent and depth as Seattle in terms of offense. Like they're 3 deep at wide receiver. They've got a good running game. Yeah, I mean T. Higgins is there, and Boyd's the other one. Like these are guys that can. I
kind of dissed Jamar Chase a little bit in the earlier segment. He had 115 receptions.
Mm-hmm.
It said he had he had 15 receptions, 192 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
Player of the week.
Yeah,
Jamar Chase.
Yep. You said 12 and over 100, and he was 15 and almost 200. 3 touchdowns. I mean, he just destroyed in that game. Like he dominated, and that's one thing that's something Jamar Chase can do. He can take over games. He's just that good. You said top 5 receiver in the league. I'm like, name me 3 that are better. You're gonna struggle to come up with 3 that are better, in my opinion.
What are the advantages that Seattle has in this game as we kind of wrap this thing up?
I think the advantages that Seattle has to do with their receivers versus the secondary against the Bengals. I think that is a big advantage for Seattle, and I think that Seattle's ability to get pressure on a quarterback versus Cincinnati's offensive line, like those are the advantages that I see Seattle being able to lean on, and if they're going to win this game.
I see one more. The Bengals rank 31st in rushing yards, 25th in yards per carry through 5 weeks. The Bengals have only generated 216 yards before contact 31st in the league, and 157 yards rushing after contact, 26th overall. I think that plays right into what Seattle does best, is defending the run. At least statistically, that's where we've been able to control the line of scrimmage on our defensive side. And I can see that continuing. Seattle definitely wants to do that and makes it a priority. I hate games like this, though, where you're previously facing a team that's been underperforming a little bit. Joe Mixon's a good back.
He is.
Their offensive line, I just don't think is a great blocking offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Seattle can take advantage of that. Maybe even punch the ball out a little bit, kind of swarm the ball. And I'm really looking forward to this game. You'd mentioned a bit more reserved, and there's just something about this week where I've just been, maybe it's the bye week and we just haven't been on the field for a while, and I'm just kind of anxious to kind of get this team back on the field and really kind of face a decent opponent. I think that Seattle at the end of the day is going to be the better team and is going to control the line of scrimmage. And that's where this game is won and lost. It might come down to a turnover. It might come down to a field goal kick. I don't know. But I feel pretty good about it. And as far as the prediction goes, I'm thinking that Seattle can score points on this defense, just as it's been scoring points so far. I think they're going to score at least 27. I think it's likely that they end up scoring over 30 points in this game. So I've got them, like at 31 to maybe 23 is going to be my prediction.
So you landed there on exactly what I was thinking. 31-23, one score game, and it's a matter of can the defense hold at the end of the game, and or can the Seahawks run the clock out, which are two things I kind of like. I like Seattle's depth and talent at cornerback when it really counts. Maybe not over the course of a whole game against a guy like Jamar Chase, but when it really counts at the end of the game and you need a play. I like a guy like Reek Woolen or Spoon to be able to make a play for you and get you the win. So I think it'll be a one score game. I think it'll be tight. I think there will be a lot of clenched backsides in Seattle as we're hoping that they can hold on and get this kind of thing. But in the end, I do think Seattle gets the win.
Yeah, you mentioned play at the end of the game by one of our defensive backs. I also think a guy that be considered for the play of the game to kind of close this thing out would be a Boye Mafe sack.
Oh, yeah.
Boye Mafe has a 34.8 pass rush win rate that is second in the league behind Micah Parsons. And I think that at the end of the game, when the game's on the line, you're going to have players like Boye Mafe, guys like Uchenna Nwasu, Jerron Reed step up and give us the play that we need in order to kind of close this thing out. And you mentioned Reek and Witherspoon as well. I think we're starting to see a personality in this team and the ability to kind of turn it on when it really counts. And I'd love that. I'd love to see that. That'd be awesome.
All right, so let's wrap this up there, unless you got anything else, Bill.
That's it. If you see this episode, we successfully somehow produced it and got it out. If you never see this, well, we just won't talk about it. So hopefully the former will get this thing produced and get it out. I'm having challenges with internet connection right now. I'm visiting my folks in the Portland area, and so I will be, in worst case scenario, I will be returning early on Saturday morning, this afternoon, back to Phoenix, and I can get it done there before the game for sure. But we'll see what happens there. But yeah, enjoyed the show, getting together with you. I think we're going to try to get some lunch, even though we're getting a slightly late start. I'm ready to get out the door and meet up with you, and so that'll be good too.
Cool.
Seahawks Playbook podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NWSeahawk, Keith is at Myers NFL, and the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.